So, okay, so I've got my entry set up here, and I'm just going to switch over to the reference drawings we've got so that you can see the stair I'm going to make at that entry. And so apart from the stair, the main thing to focus on there is the level. So you can see here really clearly that the street level is actually above the ground level for this site. And you'd know that if you go and have a look at it, the street slopes up and the footpath slopes up past that set down part of the front yard there. And so that means that the entry stairs, I won't get the photos, but you'll see it if you look in the photos, the entry stairs actually begin above the height of that front yard. And so to start setting that out, the best way, if you're making stairs, is to use levels. So I actually go to my south elevation, so it's the same as in that drawing, and I'm going to make a new level using the level tool, also on the architecture tab there, and I'll draw it so it's the same as in this drawing here. So I'm going to draw it going right to left, just so the tag goes on the left-hand side. Doesn't really matter if you draw it the other way, but just so you can see the tag over there, and I'm going to call this street. And then again, always yes to rename corresponding views, and then I'll change the street level height to 500, just like it is in the drawing there. And then we've got the top of that stair, which actually goes to this entry, and that's set down below that floor level. So we'll need to look at that as well. So at the moment, I've got the floor there, but it's not set down. And so just going back to that drawing. So we can see there, it's basically one step below the main floor level. And so, because we don't really need to model this perfectly the way it would be in real life, I'm just going to assume a height for this, otherwise there'd be a lot more working out involved. And so I'll make that a standard step. Also, the maximum riser height that you can do, which is 190. So with that floor selected, over in the properties there, I'm going to make that height offset value from the level minus 190. And that's going to bring it down 190 from that floor level. Is that? Oh yeah, well I just made the floor and I hadn't gotten around to bring the floor down. Yeah, that's right. So, but we need to set that because otherwise the stairs won't connect to the right thing. Now that actually looks a bit further than what it might be in real life. I'm actually going to get the photos and just quickly look at that because we just want it to look right. We don't care if it's not perfectly got the right construction, but we do want to at least have the thing to look like how it needs to be. And, oh, sorry, this new photos program drives me insane. Why can't I just switch to a new... Yeah, oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, it should just let you go to the navigate. Oh no, that's a different, yeah, that's a different thing. So, with most of the old ones, you could just quickly navigate. I'm using, oh, photo gallery, that's what I want. There we are. Okay, so there we are. So you can see the top of the stair there. So that's, that last step there is really the floor, and actually it's pretty close to the entry level, isn't it? Yeah, so actually we don't need to set it down. So, right, okay, so in fact I won't do that. So I'll make that, there would be a bit of a threshold, so we don't want it perfectly flush, but yeah, no, let's just do it flush, even though you've got to remember in real life it wouldn't be flush, but yeah, let's make that, maybe just for the sake of it, make it 50. That's not good. So these days, that's another thing that wouldn't comply with the BCA because they don't want small thresholds. There are all sorts of workarounds and state, New South Wales exceptions to that rule if you go right through the BCA. But there's a good reason for it. It's so you don't trip over when you've got little steps. So have a think about that. But again, maybe I'll just do it 50 just for the sake of it, so you've got at least some sort of threshold. And I'm just going to release you guys over there, because I think I took you over. So you guys, you've got your screens back if you want them. So that's what I need to... Oh, did I release you too?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so I'll grab it again. Yeah, sure. Yeah, no, I'll get those. Yep, yeah, no worries. So that should be coming back again. Try again. Still not doing it. Oh yeah, there we go. So is that working now? Yep. Yep, no worries. Okay, so that's always the way you should start to think about your stairs. Before you go to make the stairs, you need to have a really clear idea about the height that you're beginning, so the bottom level, and then the height you're going to. So we're going from street, which is 500, to this floor. We're trying to connect to that floor. And so you've got to remember that that floor is set to level 1, but then I've set it down 50 mil. So you'll see how that all ties together in a minute. Now I can go to my street floor plan and then finally go to the stair tool. So I'll click stair, and then I'm going to change it to the cast in place monolithic stair. And then you can see here in properties, it's worked out 13 rises. Now remember that our floor is the last riser. So we're actually going to change that to 12. And I'll hit apply. And you can see there it's going to give me a message telling me that the actual riser height is now greater than the maximum riser height allowed. So that's okay. I'm going to click OK. And you can see there it's gone to 191. It will let you do that. But what I'm also going to show you is if you go to edit type, then you can change that maximum rise height. You can see there it's actually on 180 because this is a concrete stair. So I'm going to make that 200. Now ordinarily you shouldn't go above 190, but because this is an existing stair that we know is not compliant, we can do that. So I've got my risers still on 12, actual riser height still on 191.7, and then the tread depth there is on 280. I honestly don't remember if that's correct, but the great thing about Revit is that you can just draw it and work it out as you're drawing it. So I'll leave that on 280, but I might go to edit type and just check that the minimum tread depth there is lower than that. So I'm going to take that back to 250, and that will help later as well. And there we are. I'm going to leave the actual tread depth in properties though on 280. It probably is about that. So then I need to draw along this reference plane to draw my stair. So how do I draw on the right side? The answer is you need to look at the location line. And when you're choosing that location line, you need to think about the way you'd be walking up that stair, essentially. So if we're walking up the stair from the street here, going towards the building, then this reference plane would be on our right. Okay, so we need to set that to run right. And then now coming out, I can then just project from that reference plane, and I'm going to click a point that's set back about 500 or 600 mil from the boundary. I think I'll try and get it to be 500. And then bring it along to the right. You can see it counts the rises, so as I move the cursor, it's got, you can see there, starting 4 rises, 7 remaining, also 5, 7 remaining, and so on. But if you've got the desired number that you want set in properties, you can just go all the way to the end and take it past that, and it's only going to give you that number of rises. So it's going to give us 12, because that's what we've set, and I can just take it to the end, and that's going to give me the correct rise count. So that's with a 280 tread, and that probably won't fit all that well. So if I go to the level 1 floor plan while I'm doing this, you can see that, well, it's probably not terrible because that is a pretty small step. Yeah. Oh, no, I'd say in reality they've got a bit of a threshold there. There's a bit of a landing there. But I don't think we need to worry about that. So, in 2 minds there, I think that might be good actually. So I'll leave it on 280. If you wanted to bring that stair back, you'd need to make the tread depth smaller. And you can do that. So over here you can change that tread depth to 250. But I think actually with 280 it's not too bad. I'll just see if we can see the landing at the bottom. So here, oh, it's a bit deeper. That's more than 500. So yeah, I'm going to make it smaller. And it's a good thing for you to see as well. So yeah, so that by eye looks like more, you know, closer to 700, maybe even 800. Okay, so I'm going to redo it. And there's nothing wrong with that in Revit. So the great thing is you can easily just remake your stairs. It's a simple thing. If I delete that one, I'll then set the tread depth now to 250. Click on the Run tool again, leave it on straight, and just draw a new one. And that's, yeah, that easy. So, so now I want to move this stair by selecting it and then clicking the Move button. And notice I'm in the level 1 floor plan now, so I can see this floor that I've made for the top. And I'm going to click on the corner and then just bring that across to line up with the floor that I already had. And then if you've noticed, either side of the stair, there's a wall that encloses that stair, and that would most likely be solid brickwork. So let's see if we can get a better view of it. Right, so that again is probably solid brickwork, so probably 230. And yeah, anyhow, I'll just do it that size. So I want to then just move the whole stair up, but I'm going to check here what the distance is. So that's, well, 285, but if you have a look at again how this connects, that wall, I'm fairly certain, connects to the edge of this wall that projects out. So this, I think there's a view here that kind of shows it. Yeah, so it goes up to that wall, basically. Showing that side exposed. Here we are, there you can see it perfectly. Okay, so you can see there, it's projecting out a little bit, but we don't need to worry about that detail. So, okay, so that means we've got 285, and again, the wall does project a little bit, so if we just select that stair, and then again click Move, click a base point, take it in the direction you want it to go, and type, we'll just do 230 again, so 230, and that puts it in the right position. That's it. Tick to finish, and then in 3D, yeah, I'll save it. So in 3D we can see the stair really clearly, and so then coming back to the reference images there, you can see it's got this handrail, and that's a very easy one I can show you to give you a bit of an idea about the handrail tool as well. So with those handrails selected, I'll just start with the one on the left, doesn't matter which one you do first. Edit type, and then you'll see you have in the list of types one called 900mm pipe, and then I'm going to duplicate that and just call it 900 handrail. So then I'm going to go to the baluster placement there, the second edit button, and click edit. And I'm going to remove the primary balusters, so this one up here, I'm just going to set that to none. And then I'm going to leave the essentially the corner balusters, so these ones here for the start and the end of the corners, and then just make sure this isn't ticked as well. Use baluster per stairs, leave that unticked, and that's it. So I'll click OK, And that's going to give me something pretty close to what I want, except actually I've forgotten about the rails, but I just wanted to see that with the baluster settings. So I'll go back to Edit Type, and then this time I'll click the first Edit button, which is for the rail structure, and we're just going to delete all of those rails. So just click on one of them and hit Delete, 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 and I'll take all those rails out, which again wouldn't comply. You can't do that anymore. You have to have a balustrade, but this again is an existing stair, and that's how it is. So maybe the very last thing, oh, in fact I won't worry. You can set that post to be the same width as the handrail, but that's probably not that important at this stage, so I just want to move on. Yes, that'll be good enough. If we get time later, we can come back to look at how you can adjust the posts and even get it to connect to the other one. But for now, I can select my other railing and then simply choose the new one that I made, 900mm handrail. And there we are. So I've got something pretty close to the stair and the handrail that's really there. So then the very final thing is to put in the walls either side. And so for that, it's really easy actually. You can probably go to your ground floor floor plan. And so I'm going to quickly just check my south elevation though, just to remind myself of the height. Yep, so it's 150. So back to the ground floor floor plan, and then using the wall tool again. And this time I'm going to use the brick 230. And I wanted to do this just to give you a quick idea about materials. It's brick, obviously, and you can see that on the side. You will see the brickwork, but we probably don't want to see the bricks. It's not rendered very well, but it is kind of rendered, and it's definitely painted. So that means you don't really need to see the brickwork on the outside. So I'm going to go to Edit Type, duplicate, and make this brick 230 painted. And then I'm going to click Edit for the structure, and that's where you can adjust the material if you haven't done that yet. Click where the material slot is, just there it says masonry brick, brown it'll say. Bring that out. So masonry brick brown is the material it's got at the moment. So I'm going to click Browse there, and simply choose a material you should all have in your project already called Finish, which is a good basic default material where you just want something to be an off-white. And that's it. And so now I can draw my wall, again projecting off that reference plane. Notice how when I go to the right, it's going below the reference plane. So do you remember what you should do if you wanted to go the other way? You can use the location line, but I wouldn't here because I want that to be my exterior face. So the better option is to use space to flip it. Okay. But it's good if you're thinking about the location line, but again in this case it's definitely better to leave it on a finished face exterior and space to flip it. Works better, I'll explain that properly later. And take it to the corner. Notice I didn't think much about the height because I'm going to do that now. So I'm going to go back to the south elevation and find the wall. There it is. And so to set the height of this wall, remember it's sloping. Right, so we can't just put in a height for the whole wall. We need to put that slope into the wall. So you can just see it there. There's the sloping wall. So, have any of you had a look at this option here, Edit Profile? Okay, so if you haven't used that one, that's a really good option. Every wall will have this option to edit the profile. So I'm going to choose that and then draw a line following along the top of the stairs. And then use Trim to Corner to join that diagonal line to the edges of the wall at the top and on the side. Edit Profile. So I'll show you again. So once I've finished it, you'll see that'll come up again. You can go Edit Profile. And that basically lets you work on the elevation shape of the wall. So now I've got a sloping wall, and if you look at that in 3D, you'll see it's definitely sloping. I'll tidy that floor up in a second. And that's one of the greatest things in Revit, the fact that you can easily slope walls, but what did I forget? The bottom of the wall needs to come down, so not a problem. Base offset, -150. The problem then is that it's brought the diagonal line down, but that's a good chance to go back and have a look at how you can use edit profile again. I go to the south elevation, and again, edit profile, and I can go and then adjust my sketch. So I'll select that line and just click move and bring it up to the top of that step. Unfortunately, it's misbehaving and it's trying to join to where it was. So you can fix it, but I'm going to show you it's easier just to draw a new line, delete it, and then just redraw it to follow the angle of your steps, tracing off the nose of each step. There we are. So that's a good thing to see, because once you understand that you can change the shape of any wall in elevation, that gives you lots of options for your interior walls. You can set the height and then have curves and angles instead of just having them finishing with a straight top. So I want then to have the same wall on the other side, so I'm going to go back to my ground floor plan, and I want to flip that wall to the other side of my stairs. So I'm going to make sure I've got the wall selected, and then to finish off, I'll choose remove pick axis, and then pick the centre line of my stairs, and it flips the wall to the other side. It'll give you a warning to tell you the walls are overlapping. That is absolutely fine. Just ignore that. And so that already looks okay, but to make it a bit tidier and really finish it off, I'll go into edit type with that wall and just change my coarse fill colour to black, just like we did with the other walls. And that's pretty good. If you're really super fussy though, like I can be, then you might want to make these walls blend together. So very last thing I'll show you, this is optional, but nice thing to know, and I think you've already done some of this using the join tool. You can join those walls and make them read as one. But in coarse, you're not going to see it anyway. In coarse display, it'll all come up black, which is probably what you'd want anyway. And there we are. So you can keep tidying that up by bringing this floor back. If you want to bring it into the inside edge, you can do that. And you know, all those little things you can finish off. And later you can put the street in and really finish off that front yard. But even if you get to that point, that's good. So underneath, well, that's, yeah, because the stairs here, you can see it's got this raised section, so you could fill it in just with a floor. And if you go back to your, now to my street floor plan, that's going to be at the right height, because that's the height of the street. That's where this, you know, the entry comes from the street. So I can just make a floor there. And then I'll just draw a rectangle the shape I want. And so it's... Oh, when they built it? Oh, look, the street has probably changed. In the 100 years, or 150 years since this building was built, that footpath has probably been redone, you know, several times. And, yep, so, you know, who knows how it was originally. The fence would be original, and that sandstone plinth definitely would be original, but that'd be about it. That footpath would be, you know, fairly recent. So, yep, so the floor would be something like that. And you could make the floor a different thickness. You could make it a generic 300 just to give you a bit more depth. And that's going to help to tie it in and fill in the gap. But really you would put in, if you wanted to show all of this properly, you'd put in the footpath as well and enclose all of that, and then it becomes clear how the front yard stepping down relates to the street. But yeah, if you get the stairs done, that'd be great. So see how you go, and then we can go further into stairs for your design.